9.
Page number 9.
Now, Pam has sent in her homework
Oh, wow.
from last time. She's really remembered it.
Nice.
So fortunately, if your brains are quick, you'll soon do your homework here.
What was the homework?
The homework was, what kind of qualities, I've written all Pam's down, some really good ones she's got on
I'll
here.
just steal pants.
Yeah.
No, you can't, I'll not tell you them.
Uh,
What kind of qualities would somebody need to be successful as a maid for, in ministry?
Okay.
Okay?
Yes.
So, I'll start you off with a couple. I'll take
Nice.
some of
Yeah.
hers and some of
I
mine,
did
and
my
then you
homework.
think of some. Okay, so Pam's got down, and I think this is good, that somebody who's effective in ministry has to be a good listener.
Yes,
Yeah.
I would agree with
And
that.
that means not just looking like you're listening, because we do that, don't we? We nod, and then really we're thinking of what answer we're going to give or what we're having for tea. But I think she means somebody who really takes in.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take one of mine then. I put down somebody who's committed and reliable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can't say a Sunday school teacher who decides not to bother coming one week and just doesn't turn up and doesn't arrange anything. You've got to have somebody who's committed. Anyone else got one? Come on, there's loads here.
Compassion.
Patient.
Compassion.
Patient,
Wait a minute,
Patience, yeah.
compassion is really good. What does that mean?
Well, you know, to be safe, Emma was, you know, to sympathise, to understand, and
Okay, so that
not
goes
just,
with,
you know, brush it off.
no. I think the word that goes with that, which sometimes we miss, is empathy.
That's,
I think you've got to have both of those together. You know, otherwise you're hopeless. You know, you might go through the motions, but you've got to be able to feel what they feel. And yours was,
Patient.
yeah, patience.
Mm.
Bill used to say, patience with things, long suffering with people, and that's true, isn't it? Being in ministry, you have to be able to do both of those. Anyone
Obviously,
else?
some people have more empathy than others.
Yeah. If you
Yeah.
have no empathy, I think you have a struggle in the ministry.
Yeah, yeah.
Because-
And it's just that, like, I love Nikki in that she feels everything so deeply, and then kind of wakes me up to how I should feel about it, because I'm not really that emotional.
I don't
So-
think empathy needs to be emotional though.
I don't
Do
think
you
it
know,
does.
I
I don't
think
think it
it's
does.
that
But some people
understanding
just
for the-
resonate
yeah.
and they
Feel it
feel
so
so
much, yeah,
deeply
Yes.
that they can't help but
Sometimes
cry.
it's a problem when it's too much sometimes.
And the rest of us when it
we're going
happens
to get
like,
through today with no tears.
Go on.
why are you being dramatic?
So
Anyone else got
yeah,
one?
empathy.
Right.
Yeah, what else?
I'll go back to Pam's list. You've heard those were all on lists. She's got down here humility, and the one above it goes with it. I think modesty and humility. Those are good ones. I think.
Humbleness.
Yeah, that's really not thinking that you're
About yourself.
better than everyone else.
No,
You've
true.
got all the answers, and you
Mm.
just better listen to me, and I got it all. And which goes modesty and humility, isn't it? You know, is knowing what we're really like, and that we're not sort of, you know, you better do what I say, and it's my way or the highway. And it's often hard that, because when you think you're humble, you're not, are you?
Mm,
You never achieve it.
no.
And flexibility in yourself.
Sorry?
Being able to be flexible, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
flexibility
that's
is
very
another
good,
good one.
Yeah,
Yeah, you
Yeah.
need to be flexible.
yeah, it is, because you can get too sort of,
Not too soft
Rigid.
either, so like constructive criticism, if people say something to you, feedback, yeah, flexible, it comes to that, doesn't it?
Well, I-
You've got to change it.
yeah, because if you're any kind of one in ministry, you're going to get, you more than, I was thinking that today, because you'll get more criticism than you'll get praise. I was looking at this Bible, just thinking about this topic. When did I get this Bible? Look at it, it's falling apart. I got this Bible in 1982,
Wow.
when my first child was born. And in it, I've kept things that people have said that have been nice to me.
Oh, wow.
There's about 3 things.
I was going to say, is it like this big?
Oh.
Oh.
Since 1982,
Wow.
I've had 3 written things.
Yeah, written.
Okay.
3 written things. But I'll tell you what, I've also had a lot of criticism. And I have a lot of people telling me what I've done wrong and how I shouldn't have done it and why you should have done it and you shouldn't have spoken that. And I think you have to, and it's never easy for any of us. I think it's even harder when they come to you and you didn't think you had done that. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it's hard enough when you know you've done something, say you've been sharp to someone or say, that's hard, isn't it? Because you know you're guilty and you're oh no.
Mm.
But
Or when
even
you don't.
harder is to take something and you feel deep in your heart that it's unjustified. So yeah, we've got to be able to take, if you're in the ministry, you will get way more of that. I always think of the 10 lepers. How many went back to thank Jesus?
True.
One.
One.
If you're in the ministry and you think people are going to appreciate you, no, they're not.
No.
No, they won't. They won't even notice what the good. They'll notice if you take a step wrong.
wrong,
You
yeah,
look
yeah,
at them
yeah,
wrong,
yeah.
or you say something. They'll notice that, but they won't notice all the nice things you did for them over the years. So yeah, I think that's an important one. Here's this. We've had quite a few of those. How about this one? Self-control.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Got to be. Hold
So,
your tongue sometimes.
That's hard, isn't it? Sometimes you may have to exit something.
Yeah.
But I know when we did like teacher training, they always said just sometimes you have to leave the room and get someone else to take over for a while, otherwise you're gonna. And self-control. If you don't, you've lost your testimony right there. Yeah, it's hard to respect somebody who is lacking in, and we all lack sometimes, don't we? But if you're in ministry, particularly, you have to have that self-control. You can't suddenly lose it because somebody, I don't know, whatever. That's a hard one, but I got this one. How about this one? Pure in motive.
Yeah.
If you're doing it for the Lord, that's very important. Some people do it for other reasons. Some people want attention. Some people want to feel power. I always laughed at that because over the years we've had people have come in who've sort of been dictators, and I thought, you know, it's a piddling little church in the middle of nowhere. Are they so desperate for power that they got to come in here and be like, you know? But some people, those kind of people are insecure usually, aren't they? That they don't feel within themselves satisfied, so they find this power struggle, and sometimes in their own homes it can be like that. So we have to be sort of pure in motive. Am I doing it for praise? Well, like we said before, you won't be sticking it long because you won't get any. So we have to be pure in motive. Anyone else got one?
Wise?
Wise. Where do we get that from?
The Bible.
Absolutely.
Or
Yeah.
asking God.
Wisdom comes from God.
So if you lack it, ask.
Ask, yeah.
Ask.
We could have a lot of knowledge.
Yeah.
Correct.
Somebody could go to Bible school for 8 years, graduate with a master's degree,
But no.
and have no
Yeah.
wisdom.
No wisdom.
And I've met many pastors like that who know every answer technically,
Yeah.
and absolutely no wisdom.
That goes hand in hand with discernment, isn't it? Wise, and then you discern what's the truth, what's false.
Yeah, discernment definitely
Yeah,
would be
yeah,
another.
definitely. That's a big one, isn't it? Being discernment. There's a lot here. Wait a minute, what have I got here? Yeah, we've done that one, knowledge. So to go with that criticism, here she got willing to take and seek advice.
Yes, that, yeah.
Sometimes it's very hard.
Hard to miss.
For some people, if I didn't know how to do something, I might find it hard. Some people find it hard to say, you know, if I was going to plant a garden today, I would be an idiot to go out there and do it. It'd all die. I would be wise if I went to Cat and said, what do you do with this thing here? I don't know what to do with it. But some people find that very hard. But as I think in ministry, that is a mark of real wisdom. When I can acknowledge that you've got experience in this area that I don't have. So I can go to you, or you're good at this, and you know, if I was going to cook something, I wouldn't. If it was me just cooking, I wouldn't even know how to begin half the stuff you lot make. But I would have to be able. So that's, I think, an important thing, because we're all learning, aren't we? And God puts people together with different areas of expertise. If we're wise, we are able to channel and ask that wisdom. Right. And he left. Self-aware. That's a hard one, isn't it?
It is a hard one.
Yeah. I think
Well, because the heart's wicked
it is a deceitful.
and deceitful. So I think we allow ourselves to easily be
Absolutely.
delusional.
And we have to be. We
It's
can't
very
delude
difficult
ourselves
to
that
know,
we're-
to just gauge, is that really, and that's where, as you say, when someone brings something,
That's
yes,
when
it
you've
might
got to
be a
use
shock,
judgment.
but then you've got to be self-aware, you've got to ask, and you've got to think to yourself, is that an issue, or is this just somebody being,
That's right. You've got
Otherwise.
to be self-aware to know that.
to know?
How about forgiving? I know it's something
Oh, she's
that
got
we
it on
are
here.
Well,
She's got it on
forgiving-
here.
Christians.
Good
Different.
one, forgiving.
Loving.
And forgiving,
Yeah, forgiving and
I
loving.
think there's a Bible forgiving and there's worldly forgiving. People say they forgive you, and you know they do, and you know they don't if they bring it up again every time they get upset with you again. So I might say, oh, I forgive you for, I don't know, whatever you did, something. But the next time I get annoyed, you say, and 2 years ago you did this.
Yeah.
I've not forgiven you for that.
My mom used to say, I'll forgive you, but I'll never forget
Yeah.
what you did.
But that's not
We grew
forgiveness,
up
is
with
it?
that.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the,
And
I'll
I've heard
forgive,
that a
but I'll
lot
never
of times.
forget.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
my
forgive,
mum
but
said
I
that
don't
all the
forget.
time,
Yeah.
And that's so toxic. And
But that isn't.
And I won't lie, we should probably not remember any of it now.
Yeah.
Because you were children, so.
Yeah.
Keeps a record of everything.
But some people do.
Yeah.
Some people do keep somehow I have no memory, so I can't do that. But some people actually, I can guarantee you, will remember everything you did wrong, not everything you did right, but every little hurt they thought you did against them. But that's not forgiveness, is it?
No, it's not fair on them either. You know.
So I think you have to be able to forgive and get over, and that means put it behind you, is it? And
Yeah,
not,
draw a line.
yeah, draw a line, not bring it up next time.
Never think of it again.
Organised. How about that?
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah, just in
And I think that's really true because I can think of, and then once again, that is about some of us are naturally organised. I know I'm naturally organised to an extent, probably too much sometimes. Some people are not, or it's not.
I don't
a
think
sin
it's
to be
disqualifying.
unorganised.
No.
It's not a sin, but it's a good quality. I can remember. I know people who have left churches because of the chaos. And really, what should have happened there is whoever was leading the church should have known that I've got organised people here. Delegate. So it's
Well,
not
especially if it's that big a deal to you, you're going to leave a church. Well,
Yeah.
then you should have actually put your hand up and said,
Yeah.
"Can I not help
Yeah.
out?"
Yeah. Well, these people got sick. This
Seriously.
one couple I know got sick of helping, right? Because every week the pastor was always late for church, so they were always there first. Nothing was ever set in place. Nothing was organised. It was just chaos. And they got so sick of trying to help, and it never got any better. And the guy should have delegated them these things. I don't think there's any excuse for being the last one at church every week. And they got sick of the visitors coming in and thinking they were the pastor, because that's how crazy chaos it was. And I think really, organisation is necessary in a group. If you haven't got that gift, then you bring someone along to do it. So if you were a Sunday school teacher, it was chaotic. It'd be nice to have a helper who had everything organised for you, you know, and had the toys out ready and had the crayons here rather than coming in, where's the toys, where's the prize, what am I doing? Well, because that brings frustration to others and to you.
Unsettling for the children.
Yeah, and it's unsettling for you. If I come in and I've not got it ready, I'll be mad at me, or I might be mad at you. Why have you not got it ready? Do you know what I mean? So we have to, organisation can eliminate a lot of irritations in the person who's not organised and the person who is organised. So once again, if you haven't got that gift, it's that being able to say, will you do this? Will you organise this? And then I know it's going to be okay. So
I think it
that's
takes different. It looks different sometimes in different people, though. Like I would put Kat as being not so organised in some ways, but you
That's
even
why I
though it's
mentioned
There's
it.
lots
It's
of
something
shit.
I need to work on.
lastminute.com,
And then look at the shed girls, how
lastminute.com,
organised that is.
boom, it's all done.
Some people
Whereas
work
for me
better
it would
that
be
way.
weeks
Under
before,
pressure,
little
yeah.
bit, but you don't really work like that. But
And
you're
yet
still
the girls
organised.
with the cooking, I wouldn't know how
No.
to even start
So
that,
it
but you're
takes different
organised
forms.
enough that
Yeah,
you're
right.
never in a
Yeah.
We're
panic.
organised, so
But it
we
goes
don't
back to your
admit it.
commitment.
Yeah.
Sorry?
And that links back to your commitment. It doesn't matter how you get there.
No,
But
as long
at
as
the
you get
time,
there.
as long as you get
On
there
the time,
and
on
it
the
is
day.
getting done,
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
that's the main thing.
and it's present. And I think when you've got a group of people,
Never gone wrong.
it's got to be sort of, nobody wants to come in and have everyone running around and we're all, you know, suddenly.
No.
So it don't matter how you get there, you might be able to organise it in 10 minutes so you know what you're doing.
Yes.
Like I couldn't in the
Yes.
kitchen, take me hours to get it.
Yes.
But it's getting there so that the finished product is
The same.
safe.
same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be like if we're organising a jamboree for my ukulele people. If we got there on the day and I suddenly realised I hadn't got the microphone for the person and forgot this here and have not put the programme in order and I don't know who's doing this, those people would not be happy. They pick up on that, don't they?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
however I get to there, on the point of presentation,
Yeah.
it has to be, as a ministry person, it has to be well done, doesn't it? Yeah, I think. We must be coming to the end. I'll just see if there's any we've not missed. How about this one? Balanced.
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 Mm.
That means,
Even keel.
yeah, even keel. A balanced person, not extreme in one way or the other. You know, some people can be just.
Unbalanced, like.
Like not black and white. Is that
Yeah,
the same?
some people can
So
be
you have
so
to be a bit
extreme in some
between.
areas.
Yeah.
That it's sort of like when I went to Bible school, we were in the extreme 70s, it was very extreme, and the Bible school I went to had dress regs, and I have nothing against dress regs in schools. I think that brings about, especially when you're training for the ministry, a bit of discipline doesn't hurt you. But the dress regs at that time were the women couldn't wear trousers. Fine, you're in school, you just, no problem. But they extended that so that when my mother-in-law came to visit, she wasn't allowed on campus because she had trousers on.
Oh.
And that to me is an extreme, isn't it? You know, I mean, fortunately, she was a Christian, but she wasn't living for the Lord at the time. She was not living at all a godly life. But it really upset, and I thought, well, that's really, I don't want people coming to see me. I'm not allowed on campus because they're not fitting the dress regs of the college. That to me is an extreme, you know.
Yeah.
So we have to be aware of, of
have that balance.
yeah, and the same sort of in church. We had in the church Bill was saved in. This lady brought a newborn baby in, and she wasn't. And when the service started, the pastor's wife came and said, "Give me the baby." Well, it was only like a day old, and it went. What do they do at a day old, right? Just sit there like a blob. So and she said, "You're not allowed to have it in the service." She said, "It's a day old. She didn't really want to give it to this woman. You know, you don't want to spit." And she said, "Well, I'm sorry, you can't." I can still remember this. Obviously, you can imagine what impression that gave this visitor that these people have brought. And that's extreme, isn't it? Let's use a bit of, you know. It's not like it was running around screaming straight. It was out just laying there. So it's being balanced enough to know, you know.
You know, if you go in to someone who is in the ministry, it's nice to think that you're going to get a balanced reply from them. You know, there's some people you think, oh, what side of them am I going to see today? It's nice to be a balanced person. It makes people able to.
Well, I think that's with consistency too, isn't it? Balance, being balanced too. I always used to think this when if I was teaching or something, that I should have to be balanced in my mood too. So if I get up when my kids were young and she irritated me and did something wrong and I'm annoyed, if I go to work, really, because it's something she's done, and then the next day she was good, so I got to go in a great mood, and that person does the same thing, don't bother me today. That's not good, because those people don't know what to expect out of me, do they? So in the ministry, we have to be consistent and balanced in the way we treat people.
Yeah.
So we should always be, so they know that I'm going to always be, you know, even if at home something horrible's happened, I'm going to be even keeled with you, and then go home and have a nervous breakdown.
Save it till you get home.
Yeah, well, still be nice, but I think we've done nearly all of them. A lot of them industrious. Have had that.
Ooh.
It doesn't need to be lazy in the ministry, does it?
No.
You know, I always think be well prepared. I'm just in me, but I think we have to put effort in the Lord's work too, that we would for anything else, and do a good job, the best job we can do, whatever God gives us to do. I'll just see if there's any more. I think we've had them all.
Resilient?
Resilient is very good. She's not on here. Oh, that's very good. Yeah, we have to be resilient because things change, don't they? And people change and circumstances change. I've got here, oh, that's a strange one, but yeah, brave. Because sometimes we have to do things that are difficult in the ministry, don't we? And that's not always easy. I know for me, I always found that was the hardest thing, because I would rather back away. And that can sometimes you've got to be brave, haven't you, and do something that's difficult or unpleasant. I think that is it, gang. So the good thing is, well, the bad thing is we can never meet all those. The good thing is God gives us grace to enable us and gives us, He never gives you a job to do that He doesn't provide what you need to do it. So what we're lacking in these, He will give us, or He'll give us people
Or a helper.
to help us to provide that to do the job we have. So, and Pam, if you're listening, excellent list. Oh, appreciative, that's a good one. I've just gone over Pam's list. We should appreciate what people do for us, and not a fake appreciation. We had a pastor once who just didn't like me. I know it's hard for you to believe, but yeah, he hated me. But every time I came in, he said, "Oh, Mrs. Smith, I just love the way you play the organ." And it was so fake, you know, like a second-hand car salesman. And I knew he didn't like me, and I knew he wasn't, I think he would have rather I'd been buried at the bottom of the church at the back. So appreciative has to be sincere, or there's no point expressing it, because you know what, I don't know about you, and I can tell when people don't mean it, when it's just mouthing the words. Oh, we're so grateful for you. No, you're not. You're really thinking, I wish you'd go away. So appreciation should come from the heart. I really do appreciate. And then you know when people mean that, don't you? They really do appreciate who you are, what you've done, and that's so.
And I suppose, sorry to interrupt, I heard someone say the difference between being kind and being nice. When you're nice to someone, you're expecting something in return, even if it's just
I think.
You're expecting something. Whereas being kind, you do that just
because
of love.
Yeah.
Selfless.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Well, I think we've done all those, so let's get rid of that. Let's go to our book. We're doing 3 ladies today. Last time we ended with the women in the upper room, and we talked about how women are important to God. They were in that upper room. It wasn't just sort of the disciples only. Women were also accorded as important, weren't they? They were there through all the beginnings. There was a woman who first saw the resurrected Christ. They were there to ask for direction. Okay, we're looking now at Acts 9, and it's Tabitha or Dorcas. Nice names. So I'm not going to read it all. I'm just going to read a couple of verses about them. Acts 9, where are we? 36, let me find it.
Oh, Dorcas was the one who was doing clothing for
That's
the
the one.
charity.
That's the one. Let's just read about it. It says, in Joppa, there was a certain disciple. Oh, look, she's called a disciple. Named Tabitha. Okay, or Dorcas, I like that. A woman full of good works and alms deeds. Alms deeds are what you do for the poor, isn't it? People who have needs. It came to pass that she was sick and died, and then they washed her and they laid her in the upper chamber. And as far as much as Lydda, the town, was near to Joppa, and the disciples had heard that Peter was there, they sent to him 2 men, telling him to come to them. Then Peter arose, went to them, and when he came, they brought him to the upper chamber, and all the widows stood by him, weeping, and showing the coats and the garments that Dorcas had made while she was with them. She was a remarkable woman. Obviously, she was well thought of, wasn't she? I thought about this. I thought, I wonder what people will grieve about us when we're gone. There they are showing, look, she made this for me. She did it. I think of Kathy, you know, these people are givers, aren't they? And I thought, you know, hopefully when we go on to heaven, people will not be saying, oh, thank goodness that troublemaker's not here anymore. She really was a real or are they going to say, wow, we're going to miss these things. This, she did that, she did this. What a remarkable testimony for Tabitha or Dorcas, isn't it? That she was remembered for the good she did. And obviously, she must have been the kind of woman that didn't have a bad word to say about it. They were crying so much. In fact, she was so amazing that quite a miracle happened. So Peter put them all out, and he kneeled down and prayed. And turning to the body, said, Tabitha, arise. She opened her eyes and saw Peter and sat up. And he gave her his hand, lifted her up. And when he had called the saints and widows, he presented her alive, and many believed in the Lord. Wow, what a testimony! What a remarkable, remarkable woman. I wonder. I often think, you know, we're remembered. I always feel sorry for Thomas, who's called Doubting Thomas. I'm sure he did a lot of great things for the Lord. He was a disciple, but what's he remembered for? How horrible, Doubting Thomas. You know. Are we going to be remembered, you know, like Moody Mary or whatever we are, you know? That would be horrible, wouldn't it? So we want to be remembered for hopefully doing what the Lord wants us to do. So that is...
Christian calls me Bitter Berry.
Calls you up?
Bitter Berry.
Bitter.
Bitter Berry.
Oh!
I hope I'm not going to be
Oh,
remembered
no, you
as
don't want
Bitter
that.
Berry.
No.
I know.
On your grave.
You're telling us that you were nice.
Always Bitterberry.
Yeah, it was something I shared, I think, as not back in the day, but when I used to go with Christian through all these things up and down. So I used to treat people better on the outside than when I go inside home, it just lash you out as George. So all he probably remembers me is like Bitter Berry.
But wouldn't it be lovely if in a while that changes and he comes up with something absolutely,
Sweet berry.
Sweet
Oh,
berry.
sweet
Jesus.
berry.
Then you know
Well,
God's
God has
really...
worked on me
gonna work.
last year,
Yeah.
for sure, and on him as well.
It's great to know that whatever people know us
Miracles,
for now, it doesn't have to stay like that, does it? So if we've got a bit of a sort of a bad thing that people think of us like a moody Martha or whatever it is, we don't have to stay like that, do we? God can change it so that people think of us in a different way. Okay, let's look at the next one. And it's Acts chapter 12. Hang on, I lost it already. Oh, here it is. Acts chapter 12. And it's Mary, the mother of John Mark. We know John Mark, he wrote one of the Gospels, didn't he? And what else is he famous for, do you remember? Isn't he the guy that turned back on the first missionary journey and quit?
Had a fallout.
Yeah, fortunately, that didn't end there. That could have ended there. He went on the first missionary trip with Paul, was it Paul and Silas? I can't remember, it was Paul and Barnabas, I think. and he quit halfway. Who knows? We don't know why he quit. Whether he wanted his mum, he was quite young. Whether he didn't agree with something, we don't know. But the end of the story could have been that, couldn't it? That John Mark just started off in great and then just packed it in, had a temper tantrum. We don't know what happened. But it didn't end like that, did it? Because we have the gospel he wrote. We know that Barnabas forgave him. Paul didn't want to forgive him. Paul didn't want to give him a second chance. We have to give second chances, don't we? And Paul learned that because he later said he's useful for the ministry. He knew. But yeah, Paul found it struggled to forgive and forget this guy who'd quit halfway and obviously called him a lot, but he probably had plans, he'd worked this guy aside and he let him down. Sometimes it's hard, isn't it, to sort of trust someone again after they've let you down.
I bet Doubting Thomas wasn't happy that John Mark didn't get a name.
Yeah, you could have named it what, quitting time, I don't know.
John Mark.
And yet poor Thomas is the one with it. But yeah, John Mark, fortunately, went on for good.
Richie Paul, when he was forgiven by all the Christians for murdering them, like,
Yes.
Yeah.
You're not going to forget
True.
Yeah, he's quite a decisive person, Paul, and I think he could be quite abrasive in some ways. But when he was, in the end, he always got right, didn't he? When he was corrected, he
Just shows they're the same as us, they're learning the same
They're
lessons.
humans, yeah. Nobody's perfect. And it's nice to see Paul soften and become more empathetic. Is that a word? Empathetic. Right, so let's look at these verses here about when Peter was put in prison for preaching, and an angel gets him out of prison. Okay, so he's released from prison. So if I go to he gets out and he's out on the street. He says, "What am I going to do now?" You can imagine he's just let out of prison and don't know what to do with himself. What am I going to do? And it says, and when Peter was come to himself, in other words, he sort of calmed down. I mean, you would be a bit shocked if an angel sort of suddenly let you out of prison, wouldn't you? So he came to himself and he said, now I know of a surety the Lord sent this angel and has delivered me from the hand of Herod. And when he'd considered it, so he's standing there thinking about it, he says he came to the house of Mary, the mother of John Mark. So we think she's a widow because in those days the house belonged to the man, right? But so it's Mary's house, so it's her house, and many that were there gathered praying. So already we know she's opening her house, isn't she, to be used for the Lord. And as Peter knocked at the door, a damsel came called Rhoda. Now, when she saw, Rhoda's a bit, I don't know what you call it, and when she knew Peter's voice, she didn't open the gate, but ran in, just left him standing in the gate, ran inside, screaming, "Oh, Peter's here, Peter's here." And you sort of think, I don't know if I'd been Peter, I would be anxious to get off the street in case I get arrested again. And there he is, abandoned at the door, shut on him, and she runs upstairs and just forgets all about him. But fortunately, they send her back down. They don't leave him out on the street. Okay. So she ran in and told them that Peter was stood before, and they said to her, "You are mad. You're crazy." But she can't. It's true. Why she didn't just bring him in and show them? That would have seemed simple, wouldn't it?
Shut the door.
Shut the
someone,
door.
You really can't wait to
Rod's
see it.
upstairs. He really is down there. He's down there. No, he's not. Yes, he is. He's down there.
You grab him and like, look, he's here.
Just seems to me that would have been the simplest thing to do, but no, Rhoda had a different way of doing things. Okay. So let's see. So she, wait a minute. So she's constantly affirmed it was so. Then they said, "Oh no, it's his angel." So they think he's dead and it's some sort of angel come. They cannot believe because they've still not seen it. But Peter, patient, well, I don't know if he was patient, continues knocking. I mean, really, I can just imagine, can't you? He's down there, knock, 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 knock. Nobody's taking any notice, and they're all having a big argument about whether he's really at the door or not. Okay, so when they eventually opened the door and saw him, they were astonished. Well, what can we say? Mary opens her house, and she's there. She asks him in. She looks after him, and she has obviously a big ministry, which had an effect on her son, didn't it? Because she was faithful and hospitable as a woman, and active in the ministry. Obviously, she's got prayer meetings going in her house. She's not just so. Her influence on her son was great. She's perhaps brought him up alone because she has no husband, at least at this time. But John Mark comes up to faith. I look at Rhoda, who's obviously, I don't know if she's just a member of the church. What can you say about Rhoda? Who knows? But then I thought, well, maybe she just panicked. She obviously couldn't believe this. And then that made me think of these two ways we react to situations, which are fight or flight, aren't we? So if something unusual or different or that throws us off our usual keel happens, we all react in a certain way, don't we? Some people go in chung, don't they? And they're right in there, and they before you think about it. Other people will run and hide behind the couch. It's just the way we are. I think Rhoda obviously was a run behind the couch flight sort of person. Instead of just tackling, saying, "You really, God, show me proof that you're." No, she just runs upstairs, doesn't she? God can use fight and flight people, but He has to balance us out, doesn't He? Because either of the extremes is not good in the ministry. If I'm a fight person, that's not really a good testimony, is it? Because I'm going to get angry at you all the time, and God doesn't want angry people in the ministry. If I'm a flight person, then what I do is I let problems go on and on and on until they absolutely explode, because I put my head in the sand. I'm a flight person. I would like to think I don't have to, I want everyone to like me. I don't want any, so I won't ever face things, and that brings conflict. So these two extremes God wants to deal with, doesn't He? And bring, if we're in the ministry, we have to allow God to balance us out so that we're neither angry and aggressive, or like the ostrich with their head in the sand, open, it will all go away and somebody else will solve it and I won't have to face any unpleasantness. So Rhoda's a flight girl, and also flighty, I think, because to me common sense would have said, and that's a nice thing to have if you've got common sense, isn't it? Just let the guy in and everybody will know that it's really him.
Mm-hmm.
The last person we're going to look at today is Lydia of Thyatira, and she's in Acts 16. Let me find her. Can't find her. Okay, now Lydia was not a member of the church when they met her. She was actually at the riverside. They went to the riverside. So if I look in Acts 16 and verse 13, it's Paul and Silas here together. On the Sabbath, we went out of the city to a riverside where prayer was wont to be made, and we sat down and spoke to the women that were there. So they're out talking to people about God, aren't they? I'm sure they're not talking about how you're washing your clothes and what soap you're using, but they're talking about God to these women who were at the riverside. And a certain woman named Lydia, a seller of purple from Thyatira, which worshipped God, heard us, whose heart the Lord opened. So she already believed in God. A lot of people out there do still believe in God, not the God of the Bible, but they believe there's power, they believe there's God, and they're open, they're quite ready to hear, and we have to pray God will bring us to these people. So this lady was quite a well-to-do lady. Purple, I looked into this purple thing here. It's purple dyed cloth she was selling, and purple was a very expensive dye. I know in history only royalty was allowed to wear purple, weren't they? And it's made out of two things I thought was quite interesting. One was a plant called a madder plant. I've never heard of it. You heard of a madder plant? Me neither. Mm-hmm. But you could use this to boil it up and get purple. The other thing they used was a snail called the murex snail, which was a marine mollusk. So obviously you're not going to find them hanging about everywhere. They're not like the snails we get. So only rich people could afford this stuff. So she had money to be able to dye stuff purple, and obviously only sold to people who had money. So she was, I would say, up here, the upper crust sort of society. We often say, you know, it's hard for rich people to get saved, but it's not impossible. God speaks to rich people as well as poor. This lady was a businesswoman. You know, God doesn't expect us all just to never go into business. A lot of women have to go into business, and sometimes He calls us into business. There's nothing wrong with that. Whatever God calls us to do. So this businesswoman actually got saved. She was another widow. A lot of widows around, isn't there? Here, this is another. I think I like that, because you know widows can still be useful to God, and that's good to know, isn't it? A lot of people, as they get older and they're widowed, tend to think they're on the shelf. Their life is over. But we've had some active widows here today. And she was still in business. She was doing well. She owns her own property, and she asks them over. So there's another hospitable lady. She invites them to stay there, and the new church meets there in Philippi in Lydia's house. What a ministry she had for the church. She got saved and she was ready to serve the Lord immediately. Some people it takes them a while. Some people get saved in the embryo state for a long time, aren't they? And you know, we have to be patient if we're in the ministry with people. They don't all grow at the rate we want them to grow, and we can get frustrated sometimes. But you know, you should never give up. I sort of think of my nephews, horrible children. They were horrible, but lovely Christian mother, gentle Christian mother. Went out. One got in prison. Two of them got in trouble with the police, and one of them didn't get right with God. He was in his 50s.
Wow.
Don't ever give
What
up.
he did in the end.
He did,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
So you know, you don't. You know, we might. Why? We have to never give up and faithfully pray for people and love them and know that God sees them as they could be, and we need to see the potential in people. So these are three, I think, four. We have to count Rhoda. Those are four remarkable women, aren't they?
Rhoda for other reasons remarkable.
Yes, I have to think of Rhoda. I'm sure you could have had a name in front of that just sort of
Remarkable
yes,
Rhoda.
remarkable, certainly.
We all know one.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, quite crazy. Bit like.
Well, I was thinking comparing her to Leah. I was like, that's what Leah would do.
I was thinking, who out of all of us lot will be the one that shuts the door?
Yeah, and
shouts
runs off and leaves
upstairs?
them at the door. Isn't it great to know that God uses us all, that we're so different,
Yes.
and that He fits us all
And there will have
together.
been a reason for that. I know God will have had a reason why she did that. We might not know why she did it, but there was a reason for it.
Well, God used that for some reason, didn't He?
For some reason.
Yeah. And hopefully she learned from it.
Yeah.
And I bet next time she opened the door.
Let him in.
Oh,
It's alright if you turn up at my house. There is a room.
Let yourself in.
Should we close in prayer? I think we need
We
to
didn't
pray
open
for.
a prayer.
Oh, we'll close and open in one prayer because I'm thinking like Kathy really needs our prayer.